getting into the sharp end now. Virtuosi, P7, 134 points. So pretty decent year. Most of those scored by a certain Australian who has really shone, Jack Doohan, ended up finishing P6, few wins. And then we've got, as I've typed, Sato, Marino Sato. So Virtuosi have just kind of slipped, I feel. They've slipped in prestige almost from where they were. They had a pretty stellar lineup last year before. Now they're midfield. Jack, I believe, isn't necessarily the reason for that, but let's call a spade a shovel. We've got here a pay driver and we've got here a talent. And this is kind of P7 where you end up when you've got that top and the bottom, I believe. This is where we go into the between. But we're looking at the drivers more specifically, Josh. Marino Sato, Jack Doohan, your thoughts on their 2022?
I'll get Doohan out of the way. Dumber than a box of rocks.
We can't do that again.
No, we can't do that again. No, that was an inside joke which should not have been said. But like in reality, we saw what he did last year. It's just like, okay, this kid can go places.
Just let me for a second, for anybody who doesn't know what's going on here. In the F2 preview, I didn't do anything. I liked Jack Doohan, and then we had Josh Revell coming on and almost tarnishing the F1 Feeder Series reputation by calling Jack Doohan dumber than a box of rocks, while also complimenting him at the same time. And the only way that only Josh Revell can do. And Josh Revell, almost blacklisted Jack Doohan from F1 Feeder Series of the podcast. Took a bit of
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thanks, took a bit of fighting for him to come back on, but we massive Jack Doohan fans. He's done really well. So Josh, please.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that as a Kiwi you don't want to see is an Aussie doing good. But I've got to give credit where credit's due. Jack was fantastic this year. I was at Spa when he won the feature race. It was fantastic drive, and especially against some of the guys this year with what they've had, and he's just way outshone his teammate. Quite unlucky at some stages this year, was it at Jeddah? He had the crap at the restart. He was just rammed into Abu Dhabi where the team sent him out on a tricycle. But apart from that, like, how many races did he win this year?
Let me go and count with thanks to Wikipedia for this. We got
Wikipedia, the most reliable sense of information.
The sprint race at Silverstone, the feature race in Hungary. No, the sprint race in Hungary, my bad. The feature race in Spa. We had a double podium because he got the P2 as well in the sprint race, which you saw. So pretty damn good year.
It was a damn good year. And, if you were to have to talk about rookies, he's extremely close with the one that finished highest of all the rookies, but still, goddamn, he was strong this year. And Victor Martin is a fantastic talent, but Doohan's going to be pressing for the Alpine seat hard, and he deserves that. He deserves that shot at Formula One because it's just been fantastic this year. He proved me wrong. I didn't think he was that much cop. A couple of years ago. I will bugger off. I don't. I was definitely wrong in that regard. Kudos, Jack. It was a bloody good season, man. Fantastic. So that I'm dumber than a box of rocks. As for the other dudes, I'll just briefly get on to the other dude because this won't take long. Marino Sato. No. Tyler.
Marino Sato. He's one of those drivers that just is going to be a footnote in F2 history. And he's not someone who clearly doesn't belong in the series, but this year he was in his third full season, 2 at Trident, his first at Virtuosi. As Jim, you said at the beginning, Virtuosi have been a good team for a few years now. Jack illustrates how good they are. And even Jack, as I'll get onto, should have scored way more points than he eventually did. Yeah, he's just not been on it at all. And there's the worry that he will be returning for another year.
Marino Sato, P22, 6 points this year, just to add some context to what we're talking about this year. In a driver that's,
bloody hell, did he get that many?
Yeah, P8, P8, and a P10. And then the rest of it, either retirements or not top 10 positions.
Wow.
Not good enough. And the thing is, right, is I spoke to Doohan about halfway through the year, maybe a bit into the second half. And something I asked him had really stuck with me. And it was about the fact that obviously having a second teammate as a rookie in an F2 car who is clearly off the pace compared to you is such a distraction when it comes to understanding your pace. You come straight in from F3, you look like a title contender from the first weekend, and your teammate is basically doing the same thing every weekend, which is like really unhelpful to him. And he was trying to be as nice as possible to Marino, because I'm sure he gets on well with him. I'm sure Marino's not a bad person. Problem is, though, is he's not a great driver. And when you've got someone like Doohan, who really is sort of F1 quality in the making, having Sato is really actually hampering him and hurting him. I think it's going to make Doohan work for it that bit more, which maybe down the line will be a benefit to him. But yeah, Doohan should have got a lot more points this year because of that, and also because of the fact that the man couldn't deal with how quick he was in qualifying by just giving it a bit of space in the race. He's so on it all the time. Maybe it's a thing of his, because of his dad, I don't know, but he clearly wants it so bad. And we love to see emotional drivers and all that sort of stuff, but I hope he learns. I hope he's learned his lesson in the back end of this year, where he's begun to, as we said about that feature race win in Spa, was a really, really nice thing for him to finally get. He nearly retired from 2 poles, and if he wants to win a title, which might define him getting a seat in F1, he will need to stop doing that and convert it like Drogovic did this year.
I think from my perspective, I had Doohan kind of pegged in that sort of Tictum level of very emotional driver. Like you say, he wants it so bad that it's almost spilling out into the radio, into what you see him driving. I mentioned in the Inside F2 podcast for their season finale, he seemed to calm down. When it was just like the team said, sorry, we gave you, as Josh called it, like, we gave you a tricycle. He didn't seem pissed off about it. He seemed like, oh, come on, guys. It wasn't the anger. And I feel like there's a massive level of maturity for him coming from where he was around the start of the year. And that puts him in such good stead. Like the Doohan Porsche, presumably 2023 fight with Behrman possibly and whoever else, that is what I'm signed up for, because those 2 drivers, Doohan and Porsche, I think are those ones who are looking at F1. Victor Marta, I don't know. Like, this is where we're saying next year, we're doing the Ferrari. Next year is going to be our year. But I do think Doohan is probably a 2023 title contender. But let's try and get through, because we're going to have the longest podcast in history. And I'm not just talking the F1 Features podcast, just podcasts in general. Josh Revell, you say no for Marino Sato, but what would you give in terms of a score?
D. Tyler?
Yeah, D- you could even argue. He's close to it. It's the fact that he's been in there for a while. It's like, come on.
He's been in there for a while. This is not his first rodeo, and he's in a Virtuosi, which is like, dude, this is not a Campos. Like, come on. Like, there is no cushion for this guy. There is no bloody excuse. Like, no, that's it.
Yeah. So yeah,
done.
D-. We're happy with that. Move on from Sato, please. Doohan.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's stick with a D for Sato. We think Sato's a nice guy, but like I say, separating the driver from the person, I think D is a fair representation of his season. But Jack Doohan, that's not a D. This is a driver who is one of the stars of Formula 2, I think. Absolutely not dumber. D for dumber than a box of rocks. He is friend of the podcast, bloody good driver, top bloke. What do you want to give him, Josh?
F. Nah, he'll get
F for fucking good.
Exactly. Nah, he was just He's in the A's. I'm not sure what to give him though.
Tyler, potentially you can help out here.
Definitely not an A plus. I think he's made way
not quite there.
The question is, again, how did you view him coming into the season? Because he had a really good finish to the season last year, where he actually properly battled with Hauger for 3 or 4 rounds. He got that feature his victory in F3 at Spa as well. When the Alpine situation came into effect with Piastri and that seat was up, his name got thrown in, and he was performing at that point of the year, which I think deserves a massive amount of credit. My worry, all right, is ironically, as someone who switched from Red Bull when Red Bull had loads of drivers, now they're sort of dropping him off a bit. He's now stuck at Alpine where everyone else is going, and he's at the top of the line. But look who they've got. They've got 2 drivers who are probably, I mean, unless obviously we have a massive Ocon-Gasly head-on collision, they might be around for a couple of years. That's going to be a problem for Doohan in his career. This year, though, I'd say A.
I'll go with that. A, straight A.